Well, good morning, everyone. How are you today? This is Jim the Keys Bartender. That's Florida Keys, if you have a question where we're coming from. That little dribble of land coming off the end of Florida, looking like a stream similar to a upward arcing stream of urine. I didn't want to get so crass. It's like if Florida were a penis, then it would be like peeing upward and curving a little, like straight up. It's just the way it is. Just what it looks like on the map doesn't mean it is what it is. But it was a lovely weekend. It was a lovely weekend. This is fall. This is traditionally not so busy, but we had a decent weekend. I also had it was interesting. It coincided, this week is my daughter's high school homecoming thing where they have the football game and the homecoming dance and the spirit week and all that stuff at Carl Shores High School in Tavernier, Florida, in the Florida Keys. And because that's homecoming, I wasn't homecoming, but I had friends from Philadelphia come and visit me. From McGeehan's Bar at Continental Cottage in Philadelphia. And a group of them, about 8. Was it 8? I think it was 8. Kevin O'Dare, Pat and John McGeehan, and Danny Healy, and 4 other guys. I'm not going to say their name because I'm not exactly sure all their names. I feel bad about that. I know Billy, Eddie, Jimmy, Bobby. Oh, the one guy I should know too. I left out. But don't make fun of me for that, guys. There's a whole bunch of other things I can. I'm not going to say what happened this weekend. I was working. They not so much. They came down Thursday through and left on Sunday. And did I see them? I didn't see them Thursday night. But I did see them Friday. And the thing about these guys is they're professionals when it comes to traveling. They know they're going to have a couple drinks. They're not driving around. And there's a group of them. So I don't know I never asked them if they rented a van or they were staying at a Marriott, if that was a Marriott van. Or it probably was the one they rented themselves. The van they rented. But there's always like one not drinking so much. I don't know what the deal is or whether they got dropped off. I didn't ask. I should know. But they're really responsible. A lot of them, they did take the, what was that? Little noise in the other room. I just watched an interesting movie that kind of will reference that. But the guys were down here. I won't give away any secrets. It was just funny stuff that happened. And I won't say that one of not of the people I named, their last names. So not one of the people I named their last names. They asked for, they kept on asking if there was a jukebox. If we had a jukebox. I told them we have a jukebox, and they kept on asking me where the jukebox was. And then later on, because I don't know if it was because they were traveling, maybe they were in the sun a lot and stuff like that, they stumbled a little, or fell out of their chair, and they fell into the jukebox. It's kind of ironic. They're asking about the jukebox, and then they fall into the jukebox. And they had a good time. They did it responsibly. I mean, they weren't driving. They went fishing on Friday, caught a lot of fish. That's a great time. Like I said, it's a great time of year to come down here. They caught a ton of fish. They ate it. They did a cook your catch here at the Catch Restaurant, Key Largo. And then on Saturday, they just did a beach poolside thing and later on watched Penn State lose to Iowa. A couple of them Penn State fans. I'm a Penn State fan, but that's the part. But the interesting thing, these are friends of mine that I've known since, God, some of them into the in the early '80s. So, almost 40 years. Yeah, that's a long, long time. A long time to know these guys. And it's funny when you get together, as you get older, the conversations start changing. When you're younger, if you got a lot of friends, every so often someone passes away. Or a parent, stuff like that. But as you get older, I'm in my late 50s, other guys are in their early 60s, mid-60s, and some of our older friends are in late 60s. More and more of them are deceased, a higher percentage. And you really don't get used to that. You don't think about it because it happens so gradually normally. It's just something that happens gradually and it picks up speed a little as you get older, the more friends you have, and they start passing away. But especially guys you don't see for, once every 3 years. I'm in contact with other people. They're one of the great things about Facebook. A lot of old friends, we stayed in touch that way. You're becoming friends through association. The associative algorithm that they use in Facebook. You can say what you will about Facebook, about disinformation and all this other shit, and about people's addiction to it. It does help friends find each other, because you look for one friend, you find them, and they find it. Mutual friend. That's how you find them, or you can find it from the place or from a high school or anything like that. So I got some of that information about people passing away. I didn't want to say dead, but yeah, it is dead. They're dead. And with people you don't see for 3 years, you start hearing about everyone who has passed away. Not just the ones you were close, like, say Joe passed away and Kevin and this and that. And you go, wow, they're just piling up. And not just COVID. I'm just saying through this due course of it. So you got to get beyond that, and you think about it and you forget about it and say, hey, that's life. The older you get, the more deceased friends you're going to have. Right? Pat would say, I wonder what he's doing right now. Probably not smelling too good. That's what, some people look at it humorously, just so, it's not all depressing. And another thing, once you get beyond who's deceased and who moved away, and every so often there was like a really cute girl. I mean, she's still cute, I imagine. She's 50 years old, Cynthia Holman, and he told me she's getting married. I won't say how old she is, but she was a young lady. She was a young lady when I knew her. Still a young lady comparative to me, so congratulations. I didn't say anything, just speaking about someone getting engaged. I'm not going to tell, I'm not going to embarrass someone that hasn't been in contact. The funny thing about these guys coming is I'm working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, supposedly all day Sunday, because I didn't work this past Sunday. We weren't open. But they kept on asking me, hey, you going to do the podcast? I said, I'm working right now. I guess they think a podcast can be done any place. I guess I could do a podcast while I'm working, but I'd have to be talking the whole time. And I'd have to respond to other people. I should do a show like that with a headset hooked up to my cell phone and just record an evening and edit it down. Or maybe just record. I mean, that's the one thing. I'm not really good with sound. I'm horrible at sound editing. The reason why I do the live shows so often is I don't want the opportunity. If something goes bad, it's either delete the show or go. So they expected me. I said, "Oh, just go and start doing your podcast." I'm like, I mean, what if I'm in fucking Star Trek where you just said, "Hey, computer, record everything that's going on"? No, I got to sit down. I got to do something minimal. I got to set up a mic and all that stuff. And sometimes I have to do a little preparation, like asking questions. Otherwise, it'd just be a clusterfuck. With these guys, it would just be a tendency. I think we have a group of them. You could get in a lot of trouble, especially when they're drinking. You don't want them to say anything to get them in trouble with their spouses or anything like that. Not that they said any of that stuff that they should be embarrassed about. They didn't. That's the nice thing about getting a little older. You know, it's a rarity, people falling into the jukebox, like I said right there. But another thing they recount some of the things I did. Now, Kevin knew me as a younger man. I didn't really... when I say Kevin knew me as a everyone knew me as a younger man, but Kevin knew me at work. He didn't see me necessarily in action all the time. Kevin and I would hang out while we're working. We worked in catering. He was a bartender. I was a doorman, maitre d', bartender, and he didn't see me in action the way Pat and John did. When I say in action. Yeah, the thing is, the Girlie man, that nickname. I had this nickname started. Christ, it had to be in the early 90s. And for some of you older folks that remember Saturday Night Live with Kevin Nealon and Dana Carvey, they did characters, two guys. And they're based on like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they wear these sweatsuits, big gray sweatsuits, and they'd be stuffed full of fake muscles, and they'd be doing the fake Austrian accent, a la Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there were Hans and Franz, bodybuilders. They were here to pump you up, yeah. And they do this, they had the prosthetics inside their sweatsuit, so it looked like they were moving they had that music begin from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and when they got the big bass drum, dum 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 dum, their breasts would bounce, their chest would bounce. They're supposed to be muscular chests. They would just pop up, left, right, and they used to call everyone who wasn't like them. They used to call them girly men. Hey, girly man, stuff like that. So I'd do this routine with some other guy. I know I'm boring you out with this, so I'm going to make a long story short. We go back and forth, and we do the girly man, calling other people girly men at the bar. And usually it was funny because me and the other guy that did it, I forgot their name, who did that with me? We had a little routine we did. We used to call them, but there were two big guys, and we call them girly men. And hence, since my name was Jim Horan, they started calling me Jim Horan the Girly Man. And you just started girly, and then they started just calling me Girly Man. And everyone's wondering, why you call me Girly Man? He doesn't look really girly. Doesn't have long hair. Doesn't wear, not that. I wasn't a beautiful. I never kidded myself that I would be a beautiful woman. So there was nothing much girly about me. I mean, people probably could have thought I was girly-like. But the name stuck because I didn't really have a problem with it. Because they alluded to that I enjoyed the company of the ladies. So that's the way I took it. And that's the way generally it was pitched. But, I mean, some people could take nicknames you can get. Like Ass Man on Seinfeld. The guy was a proctologist, and also could be a guy that could mean a guy gets a lot of ass. So I accepted that name, Girlie Man, and I embraced it. But I haven't used it in a long time because obviously I'm with Abby now and stuff like that. I have a stepdaughter. I'm somewhat more reputable. I mean, the podcast really doesn't help with that reputation, I guess. But in the old days, Girlie Man, I used to get around. I was a very social person with the ladies. But it's funny, when they started talking about it, some of the stories, they recounted things that I did, or they said I did. And much like a lot of stories, they get lionized, become bigger than life. I mean, your reputation becomes that way. I think in the background, if you have a reputation, sometimes it either can fall by the wayside or grow on after. I think with a lot of religious figures, they grow on after, to get a lot bigger. Well, he was a really smart guy. He was a smart guy. He was really nice, and he did some amazing things. And then 200, 300, 400 years ago, oh, he was the son of God. No, not joking. I am joking, but don't take it to heart that I said that. I'm just saying that reputations just seem to get blown out of proportion. George Washington could never tell a lie. Guy once, he accidentally fucking cut down one tree. Father probably sent him out and told him to go, here, you got a brand new axe, take down that tree over there, but don't take down any of the fruit trees. And he goes, what's it? It's December, so I don't know what's a fruit tree unless it has fruit on it, I can't really tell, so, cherry tree. Jeez. Yeah, that was me. Or Honest Abe, or whatever other names there were for other people. Their reputations just get seemingly blown out of proportion. Stories are expanded and made more, I guess, listener friendly. And I was listening to these things. I said, man, I really missed out on some of these stories. I don't remember that one. Or I don't remember it being like that. But people remember what they're going to remember. And it's nice running into people like that because you kind of share your memories. You talk about the things you did and stuff like that. And these people knowing you, don't sell short the kind of tonic. When I say tonic, it's a feeling you get when you're with people that have known you for a long time. And you start reminiscing. And then you start thinking. Now, it brings you back. It really does bring you back. It brings you back to the feelings that you had and the things you did, how much fun you had. And on Saturday night, Pat and Bobby, who I didn't know when I lived up in Philly, but he became a McGeehan's regular recently. We're just talking, and I drive them back at the end of the night, at the end of my shift. They were hanging out. The rest of the guys went home early in order to get ready for their trip back to Philly the next day. And Pat asked me what kind of crazy things would have to occur for you to move back to Philadelphia. And I said, I don't think it's that crazy idea. Not that I'm going to. There's really no reason for me to be there. So I said, I don't have any, what would you call it, reasons why I would not move back. I can think of one or two. But it's really not that big a draw. I didn't leave Philadelphia because I had a problem with Philadelphia. I had a problem with my life not anybody in particular, and that's why I came down here. But I always finally remember the times when you can run into people that know you and you share talking about people you knew, about girls you knew, about things that happened, people that have passed away, things that aren't there anymore. We were talking about where was a good place, late night place to eat. And there's, the nice thing about being in a big city, you got all these all-night diners around, open 24 hours. And one around the corner from us was the Leonard Diner. And that was an old diner. I remember that back in the 70s, the late 60s and early 70s. I don't even think I think it probably didn't make it out of the 70s. Pretty sure it didn't. And it was just a little, it was a greasy spoon. It was a greasy spoon. Out of diners, it was just kind of like, kind of diner. On, what was it, Cotman and Torresdale. And there was a barbershop right down the street from it. And they told me the barbershop's still open. And I said, there was an older man that cut my hair. And he goes, oh, he's still there. And I said, there's no freaking way that guy's still there. I mean, he was in his 50s back when I was like 10. So if he's still cutting hair, that is amazing. So that's 48 years. So he'd be in his mid-90s. And I'm talking to some of the guys. And some of the guys, these are older guys, and they're talking about, oh, he's still there. And I go, wait a second. Are you talking about the same guy that cut my hair almost 50 years ago? That would just be fucking amazing. It's just one of those things in a Twilight Zone. You go to one place and you walk in and the person's still there and they're younger. Or they're not. They didn't age. So, in this case, and they mentioned another place, there was a formal wear place where they used to I got a couple suits made. And the guy was in his 60s, I think, when I went there. I was in my early 40s. And he would be 83, 84. And he said, oh, yeah, he's still there. And I go, oh, well, I can see it's possible. But, I mean, it's still very unusual to see someone working as a tailor into their 80s. But it is a thing you're used to seeing older people doing. But they're reminiscing. It just brings back everything. At time, there was a book that came out of things, something. It was just a book. It was a book about things that aren't here anymore and things you can't get anymore. There used to be, when I was a young boy, a young man, there used to be a restaurant called Horan and Hardards, and it was an automat, and you can go in there, and they had, you go up to this wall, and if you do a little research, it'd be this wall, and it's just all these little cubby holes, and it'd be heated. Some of them are heated because they'll have like a meatloaf dinner. They'd have desserts on one section, a refrigerator with desserts, and you put coins in, and you get your meals out ready to go, and you go, you pick them. They just fill the slots, and you look at that. Oh, that looks good, and I get that. You know, they may put like 3 meatloaf platters here, a turkey dinner here, a cheeseburger here. Yeah, you just go and help yourself. I mean, that sounds like a roundabout way of like what McDonald's did, where they'd have their slots and they just have the burgers, and you go up there and no. But this one, you'd pay for it, you get it, you take it, and then I guess I forgot what was the thing with bussing the tables and stuff like that. Whether they brought you sodas and things like that, but that was around, and they had big ass single movie theaters. When you go to a movie theater, it was one screen. One big ass screen. And in the big cities, they had balconies. They stopped using the balconies. You couldn't really get up there back in the 70s. But there was they were very ornate, and they were well decorated with like big chandeliers in the lobby. fancy wallpaper and real fancy bathrooms, because movie going was a real treat back in the days. That was part of the. I mean, that was your entertainment. People in the prior to 1970, not everyone had color television yet, and they were kind of like little television was broadcast television, so not everything was, you use an antenna, and it was not a great picture. If you wanted to see something on a big screen and in detail, you had to go to a movie theater. We didn't have that kind of resolution on the TV, and it didn't come in like that. Sometimes it was really your favorite station. You pretty much only saw 75% of the shit that was going on. Yeah. It's the way it was. What else I'm going to talk about? Like indoor, a lot of arcades. Arcades were a thing in the big city. And I'm sure in other places around, but they were big. I mean, there was a place around the corner of me that had even a little miniature golf course inside the place. Pool table. It was like a Dave and Buster's before they had Dave and Buster's. And I don't think they had any food. You just went in, you've just fed quarters in these machines. It was great. And, they didn't have these convenience stores in the big city as much back in the 80s. They were all corner stores. And they have a counter, and you just see all the, I don't know why I'm saying all this shit. See what happens? I'm probably describing, the people that are listening to this are probably older people anyway. And I'm describing things you've seen already. One of these things that remind me, the family and I were up on the mainland, and we went to a place to eat. And I'm not ashamed to say, because when I'm hungry and I just want regular food, I go to Cracker Barrel. It's on the way home. It's right there. It's just plain food, and it's all right. It's hot. People seem to be nice. But you go in there, and they got all this old-style candy. Right? The little peppermint sticks or different flavored fruit sticks and lollipops and gumdrops. All this like Willy Wonka type candy, old school candy, rock candy, licorice, all that good shit, right? But the one thing they had right in front, and this is 2 miles from the entrance to the Keys, right? There's this Goldberg chew, chocolate chew, peanut chew, chocolate peanut chew, I think it's called. And this candy was a candy bar with peanut, nougat, and all this stuff like that. And people say, hey, that sounds like a Snickers. Well, it was older than Snickers, I think. But I love that shit. And I think I may have some left in the fridge here. I may have to try a piece of it. But it was manufactured less than a quarter mile from where I lived in Philadelphia, in State Road. Right down the street from McGeehan's. If you go up Cotman Avenue, there's McGeehan's. As you go towards 95, it was close. Not that it's important to any of you, especially people in Taiwan. What are you talking about? You care about the kind of candy you have. But that candy brought me back the memories. The funny thing, that place I was talking to is less than 200, 300 yards from the place that Rudy Giuliani had his press conference after Trump lost the election. Yeah, he lost the election. Yes, he did. So he had it at the Four Seasons Home and Garden Center, which is right next to I think it's a Paradise or Fantasy adult store. With the tiny windows and stuff like that. Kind of like the dirty... We have a dirty store in our place too, but a dirty store doesn't seem as dirty when you have windows in the front. You really can't look in and stuff like that, but it's a little more open. But Rudy Giuliani was expected to have a news conference at the Four Seasons, and it was a Four Seasons Garden Center. It was a place that does landscaping, which is right next to a porn place. And, little peep show places where I guess you can watch videos. I mean, I don't understand why people sell videos anymore, because you can get almost any porn you want for just fraction of what they charge you in one of these places. So it's mainly would be dildos and ointments and blow-up dolls, right? But I guess some people have to go someplace. So, the Goldberg Chew company is right down the road from that, and luckily it's not right next to it. It's funny, and you see these. It's just, but seeing those guys brought back not so much. They didn't bring back imageries of the dildos and blow-up dolls, but they did bring in that Goldberg Chew. I know there's a show called The Goldbergs that take place there. So while my friends were, we hung out. I went over there to hang out with them on the beach. And had a nice talk to some of the guys I didn't know that well. But it was really nice touching base with them. And I look forward to seeing them again. Eventually, I'll probably shoot up there for a couple days just to take a look around and explore. I could go up by myself. I would just want to go up there and drive and take a look at things. I understand my high school closed. Yeah, at one time it was one of the largest Catholic schools in the world. And now someone told me it was closed. Which they weren't the one that told me, though. It was someone else who's from that neck of the woods. But while Pat was down here, we were talking about a mutual friend who, I guess I'm going to put in the cart before the horse. Pat and John and we would always discuss politics at the bar, and I was always more on the liberal side, where Pat was more in the middle and John was more conservative when you talk about with the political thought. And we used to have discussions, and we were friends, and we were friendly about it, even though we wouldn't take it personally. But there was a friend of ours. Well, Pat worked part-time for the same guy who was a friend of mine who's up in Philadelphia, and they became acquainted, and he texted him to tell him he was hanging out with Jim. And the guy said, and I was going to make this the title of the show. I still don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if it's going to be Jim Horan, the Girlie Man, or this one. And he goes, "What are you doing hanging out?" This guy said it. And this guy used to be I think he's still a friend of mine. I'm not sure. But he's just really on the other side right now. You could tell by what he had to say. He called me a Biden supporting liberal gay radio boy. Libtard. Biden supporting libtard radio gay boy. And the umbrage I had to take with that statement is, when the fuck do I go on the radio? I don't go on the radio. Come on. You understand what a podcast is? You could probably listen to this through a radio that has Bluetooth, right? Or listen to it on your radio in your car. That doesn't mean I'm on the radio just because you listen to me on the radio. When, you put a picture of yourself on your television, it doesn't mean you're on television. That means you're just showing a picture using the new, applications they have to post your pictures on your television. So it doesn't mean you're anyplace else. So if you're listening to me over your radio in your car, it doesn't mean I'm on the radio. I am playing through your radio, correct? But it's something different. I know, you think I'd have a problem with the Biden supporting liberal Yay Radio Boy or something like that. I didn't. And then I thought after a while, I go, oh man, he must be listening to my podcast still. That's nice. Yeah, whenever you resort to calling someone a name and you're frustrated with them and stuff, yeah, it's usually because you're feeling powerless and ineffectual. So I'm probably going to still do what I do. And it's I'm being a Biden supporting libtard radio gay boy or podcast gay boy would have been more thing. And I'm not gay unless you meant to say happy, but I don't have a problem with someone who happens to be gay. I don't think it really affects, I don't think it affects your political, because there's plenty of gay people that are supporters of the former guy that was in the White House. Tons of them. Look at Roger Stone. Come on, Didn't he get a tattoo of him on his back? If you get a tattoo of a person who's not your relative or wife or child, you're a fanboy. You certainly are. Or fangirl. And they don't know who you are, and you put your picture on your body. There's something special about you. And it's not necessarily a good thing. So it made me think about, I said, boy, yeah, I do get political and stuff like that. But you know what? I really don't seek to piss people off. I just say, this is what I feel and what I believe in. And people get upset and they say, well, I know I can't change someone else's mind. I can't change someone's mind to tell them that, immigration is good for this country in general. Specifically, bad people that come here is not a good thing. But overall, immigration has been good for this country. And so has education been very good. Education. I'm talking about an unhindered education. I know some people don't think that universities are a liberal bastion, but it's just one of those things with knowledge. When you accept science, when did that become facts and science and all that stuff become political? Just an open exchange of ideas. That's what they should be. Yes. And you got to be careful about people that do that, the thing where they cancel culture, where they get people out. But then again, they may, it's just one of those things. It's just, education is, the best education is a freer exchange of ideas. And the worst education is a more kind of restricted exchange of ideas. Well, you can't talk about that. You can't talk about this. You got to do that. So, I'll be open about it. So, same thing with political. I'm proud of my stances. I don't necessarily worship firearms, though I'm not against firearms. I just think there should be tighter controls on them. And there should be better representation, less representation for corporations. Lobbying shouldn't be. I'm not trying to give everything away. I believe that proportionally, wealthy people should pay more. Proportionally. So if we have to pay in sales tax, income tax, and this, let's say 25% of fees, services, taxes, they should pay 25% in fees, services, and taxes, some way or another. You call that liberal? No, it's fair. I'm not talking about a flat tax. Flat tax is a bullshit thing. Remember, 15% for someone who makes $1 million a year. Yeah, that's a lot of money, $150,000. Take 15% away from someone who makes $50,000, right? That's $7,500. That's a way bigger impact on the person who makes $50,000 than the person who makes $1 million. When I say bigger impact, it leaves you less to live on. And yes, $150,000 less when you have $1 million. But it's just if you can't do it with $850,000, what are you saying? You know, I'm not restricting free trade and stuff like that, free trade or private ownership and things like that. It's just some things are, it's like the military, like Medicare, Social Security. It's already kind of like socialized, meaning the community of the United States funds it. We fund education too. So that makes me a libtard gay boy. I don't know why your sexuality has to do anything with your political thought. Because politics are completely different. If you're getting your jollies, if you sexualize your political views, then you're doing it wrong. If you think your predilection for whatever you're attracted to can affect. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in the bestiality that are in the Libertarian Party sometimes. Not more than anybody else, but there's always going to be one or two, right? Just like for anything. I don't know why politics would have to be, one or the other. So, and I'm not offended because, like I said, if you put a lot of thought describing me that way, that's great. I appreciate you for listening. This is it for this show. I'd like to thank my friends from McGeehan's. Pat, John, Kevin, Dan, Bobby, Ed, Jimmy. God, I'm missing somebody. I know. I am so sorry. If I had all of them, I would have just put them all in one picture, but I didn't want to leave one person out. It's because I have a picture of like 4 of them here, 5 of them there. I don't think I have a picture of Dan. So, also, I'd like to thank my listeners in Taiwan and India and Canada, Russia, North Carolina, South Carolina. No, you know what? It's funny. I got some Texas. I don't have in California. It's so interesting that in some of me being such a raving liberal, my biggest state is one of the conservative states of Florida, and then I have North Carolina, which is currently a Democratic state, but that could swing, back and forth. But I don't. If I was such a, obviously there's plenty of liberals up in New York and California, so they probably don't need me. But my show isn't political. It's Keys Bartender. And the thing that really killed me, the last thing I just want to remember, is saying the guys are, God, things change. Remember that shit I said about White Claws? The guys ask at the bar, they ask for White Claws. And I go, wow. Hard soda they're drinking now. Things have changed. Things have really changed. I'd like to thank you for listening. Once again, if you like the show, please share with your friends. If you have any questions you want to submit to the show or to me personally, send it to jim@keysbartender.com. Thank you very much and have a great day. Oh, let me play this. This is Tina. Someone asked me. I haven't played this for a while. Here we go.
You're an asshole!
Okay. There we go. One more time.
You're an asshole!
Thank you, Tina. I know. Why did you play that? Because one of our listeners, Ted, from down here, asked me to play it. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and I will be back again soon. Bye.